Fun game overall. Both teams creating a number of chances throughout. Taking a look at what that means in the table. Of course, we know what's going on at the top. There's still the battle as to who is going to finish in Europe next season. As it stands, it is Chelsea who have that place above Newcastle and Manchester United. More on Chelsea in a moment as we welcome in Frank Leboeuf and Ian Darke. That was better from Manchester United.
Well, it was nice to end on a positive at Old Trafford, and he took the mic after the game, Erik ten Hag. Thought he was going to sing for a minute. Do you know any Dutch singers? I'm not familiar myself, but yeah, look, it was a more positive performance. There's no doubt about that. There has been many negative performances this season, but this was better. And yeah, Newcastle played their part because they missed. We saw some of the chances. There was more than that, but yeah, it was better. Again, he's relying on the youngsters. He was extremely positive, as he has been after games, about what the future may hold. I don't know how much say he's going to have in that. And again, he talked about the injuries and so forth during the season. But yeah, it was a better result. I mean, you saw the table there, 8th position, certainly clearly not good enough. But yeah, we're going to find out soon. They have Brighton next week. They have the cup final, which is going to be a big ask for them. And then we're going to find out probably pretty soon after that what the future holds. Not going to be judged by this one game today. But
it's one game where at one stage, once Newcastle got that equaliser, they came flying out of the traps in that second half. You thought, oh, well, it's back to bad old United. But they did rally. They did show some...
They did, and to their credit. And just from the get-go, I'm kind of interested to see how these two teams would kind of pair up against each other. Two teams that like to play on the break, and then no Højlund to start with. That was a little bit confusing for me, but I thought Manchester United looked really good. And then when it's all said and done, I think the 3 brightest sparks within that dressing room are the 3 goal scorers, and then 2 players who'd come in for a lot of criticism, probably had the 2 most telling moments in Casemiro and Amrabat. So all things considered, you take what you get from Manchester United. It was a good performance. Want to close the season out. Whether it's enough to see them finish any higher than the 8th that they sit in now. Of course, we still have 90 minutes to go with that. But better is pretty low bar for Manchester United.
Bruno obviously didn't play in the Palace game or the Arsenal game, Ian. He makes a difference, obviously, when he's on the field.
Yeah, he was the best player on the pitch, and he often is. Whatever you say about his occasional tantrums, he's vital, and I think it's vital that they keep him and build the side around him. However they do rebuild, as Craig said, it's going to be interesting to see what happens. I read that rallying call on the pitch from Erik ten Hag afterwards. He was whipping up the crowd, thanking the fans for staying with the team. And they have done that, to be fair. The United fans, I think they've been brilliant through the adversity of the last few months. But I think he was trying to create a kind of feel-good factor and send out a message to, the new owners, Jim Radcliffe, the Ineos people as well, that everything's okay. And he was basically saying, we're going to go to Wembley and we're going to bring the FA Cup back against Manchester City. If they do that, will it save Ten Hag's job? I'd say doubtful.
Yes, I think that is definitely something that's still to be seen. Looking at it, Frank, overall, Manchester United deserving this win?
I would say for a little margin, yes. Even if and you mentioned that after the Newcastle equalised, that I felt that they had the opportunity to maybe double the score. And I don't understand what Isak does, Yes, Amrabat made a fantastic tackle and made a fantastic save, but it's like a kamikaze, trying something that he knows that he can't get it. But Isak offered him to be the hero, where obviously you see that he can only wait for him to dive and go on the right, and come back and finish the action. I didn't get that. Isak is such a talented player, but he wasn't clever enough on that matter. And we have to talk about the penalty. I mean, in the first half, straight after that Manchester scored, Newcastle should have had a penalty. It could have changed something.
Right, Ian, was that a penalty for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the boys are right. It's definitely a foul. Amrabat just catches his heel. It was hard to see that when it first happened. But, you can't get away from this whole VAR debate. Today, dramatically, we've got Wolverhampton Wanderers putting
Yes,
their
we
might
know, Ian. We can talk about that later. Don't start. No, not yet. Not yet.
Hold on.
But
You get involved. No.
more on that later. Coming up on the show.
This is what happens when you don't send people the running order.
Right, well,
Right.
you would have looked at it anyway.
Not me. Send it to everybody else in the show apart from me.
We will get to that.
Let me just say what Anthony
It's a
Gordon
penalty.
said. Let me just say what Anthony Gordon said, and I'm not going to go down the road on VAR. He said, I did not have a problem with the referee missing it, and that's why I didn't complain.
Right.
He said, but I expected the
VAR to pick it up. Yes.
words that I'm not supposed to use
Yes,
to
to pick
pick
it up.
on.
Right. More on VAR later on in the show. Newcastle, this has been a really poor calendar year, hasn't it?
It's been a poor season, in all honesty. By the standards that they set last season, by the start that they had to this season, you expected a whole lot more. And while injuries was a big excuse, particularly through the middle part of it, that it hasn't been for the end. I just feel it's a team that confidence was knocked. And again, given those Champions League experiences, I'm not sure how finishing in the Europa Conference League places kind of satisfies anything about Newcastle. They've had their issues. It's been disappointing, but you take...
I think if we look back at our predictions at the start of the season, Newcastle are in the conversation to finish in the top four. You want to say something?
I was going to use the word regressed.
Right, yes.
Because other people have used it.
Yeah, that's it.
Are we in agreement now? This season they have regressed?
I believe Stevie now would admit that they have regressed from last year. Why, Craig? Like injuries, okay, but everyone's had.
Well, I
injuries.
mean, second, lost a bit of momentum. Went out the Champions League group, looked competitive, and then went out. Had a bad call in Paris, the VAR call over.
Yep.
Oh, I shouldn't have mentioned that.
Right, yes, yeah.
Oh, I was such a naughty boy. I mentioned
Don't encourage him.
in trouble now. They had a decision go against them in Paris by some technology, and but that's not the whole season. Manchester United have had way worse injuries. We've talked about that. They lost the backbone of the side, which was their focal point, the goalkeeper and the back four. But ultimately, you have to deal with that. Of course, the Tonali situation certainly did not help. Did not help. You bring in a star player from Serie A, and he's got behind the scenes all these gambling issues that ultimately leads to a ban, and your plans sort of go out the window a little bit. But again, I'm not offering it up as an excuse. What I would say is, and I might be wrong here, I think Eddie Howe, like a lot of managers, is fine. But I think if he finds himself in this topsy-turvy inconsistency next year, I think he's gone. Because I think, the people at Newcastle, the investors, are putting money in. They've been trying to do it slowly but surely, not buying the superstars, but building a squad. And they will want to make sure that he can get them back on the front foot. And if he doesn't, I think, in my opinion, he will be replaced.
Is that Frank?
Craig, I think sometimes the coach is not is not responsible to all things. Who could have imagined the season that Trippier have had this season? I mean, that's unbelievable. That's unbelievable that to such a leader of the dressing room, on the field, the captain of Newcastle, losing his confidence, losing his football. Today again, covering on the first goal. I never seen Trippier in such a bad, I would say, state of mind, because shape, no, I don't think he wasn't, but state of mind, not reading, properly reading the game, and in fact, losing points because of his mistakes. And when you plan on something, and you know that you can count on your skipper, and you don't have that, and you don't have that support, it's hard to aim something good.
Where's it gone wrong for you, Ian?
Their away form's dreadful, away from home, and they're away from home on the final day against Brentford. If they mess it up there, they might miss out on European competition altogether by finishing 8th this season. And you can't discount the injuries. I think at one point they had 13 of them. But, the defence as well, it used to look watertight last season. It was the same 4 out there every time, and they were pretty watertight. This time, not at all. Eddie Howe's been talking about that tonight, post-match after the game, and he said, we didn't defend any of the goals properly, and it's been a bit of a recurring problem. So watch for some moves in the market, I think, in that area.
But I can hear United fans, and you've pulled me up on a similar argument, saying, look, why would we offer an injury excuse for Eddie Howe or others? And what's the difference from Eric Ten Hag? And you have to deal with it. And I don't think either of them have done a particularly good job. But I think the one thing with Newcastle and some other teams, at least within the performances, maybe not the results, there has still been enough to look at and go, yeah, that was decent. I mean, they beat Man United in the, I think it was the Carabao Cup this year, with a B team at Old Trafford. So I think the difference with United and maybe offering Eddie Howe some sort of small olive branch is that they've actually played okay in a lot of the games. They just haven't got the results. With United, it's been both. It's been injuries, it's been poor performances, and it's been, not all the time, but a lot of the time, being outplayed. And that has been the big difference, at least for most of the games. Newcastle have certainly not looked their old self, but have looked like they could easily pick up points and get results. They just haven't done it. And a lot of times for me, United just have not. He just has not been able to get any kind of tune out of the players that he's had fit.